I'm the.
Can you talk to the desk?
Is it okay now? Yeah, yeah.
Can you speak to the desk?
Okay. Perfect. Yes. Okay. On behalf of my colleague, Professor Tadeusz Stegner, who is a historian, and myself, I would like to welcome to the presentation concerning cross-border cooperation as a tool to support national ethnic minorities in the Baltic Sea region. So, together with my colleague, we are from Poland. Actually, we are from the city of Gdynia, that is located in the Baltic Sea region. We have the opportunity to participate in the process of Baltic integration, Baltic cooperation for more than 20 years. And what is really interesting that even if you look at this moment at the map of the Baltic Sea region, just imagine that when I was a student, our country, Poland, had three neighbors. It was Soviet Union, it was Czechoslovakia, and it was DDR, the German Democratic Republic. What happened? Those three countries don't exist. So this is the perfect example how the situation changes, that we have always borders, and what are borders? Borders are always obstacle. So what is the way? That one of the ways is to create such a tool called cross-border cooperation. So we have to cooperate, and this is one of the examples that there is also another form of cooperation called transnational cooperation. And the Baltic Sea region is an interesting experiment of the European Union to create one of the first, the most sustainable regions in the world. This is the ambitious. So even when you look at the map of the Baltic Sea region, I remember many conferences that some of my colleagues made a small mistake. There was a slogan: the first EU macro region in Europe, the first EU macro region. Not precisely EU macro region, because if you see precisely, there are 8 EU members, but there is also the part of Kaliningrad region, and there is also the city of St. Petersburg and Leningrad region. This is the true, and now this situation is completely different. So I will not refer to the contemporary situation because it's totally different issue. I will only refer to the 20 years of experience in the cross-border cooperation, minorities, ethnic minorities, national minorities. So what I wanted to say is that there was the experiment in 2007 to create a new tool called EU Strategy for the Baltic Sea region. That was a real experiment. It was the first experiment in Europe. And what was the idea? The idea was to use the economic potential, the social potential, ecological potential to create synergies, to create added values. And what was interesting, that I specialize in those all forms of cooperation, transnational, cross-border, interregional cooperation. Then I realized that, okay, if there is the ambition that EU Baltic Sea region is promoted, positioned as the most sustainable region in the world, it means that also the social issues, the issues of social sustainability must be taken under the consideration. And this includes national minorities, ethnic minorities, and other forms of the minorities. So in my presentation, I'm trying to answer the question whether this kind of territorial cooperation, including cross-border cooperation, is fostering development, is supporting the development of national and ethnic minorities. I'm also trying to identify the key attributes of those different minorities that I will show. It is not so easy because in every country there's different law, different definition. So So it's really a challenge. I will show that I found the access to official statistical data, which in practice didn't help to compare because again I realized that there are totally different methods. Then I found out all those minorities, and I made a research about all projects concerning minorities financed by Interreg EU funds. So that was the idea. So in my presentation, I am referring to three concepts. First one, which is the best well known, those are minorities, NTA, then the Baltic Sea region, and then sustainable development. And when we think about the Baltic Sea region, first we have to see that all these nations, borders, countries, they change so many times. I had the opportunity to, together with my colleagues, to prepare the concepts, the history, the definition, the limitation into journals. First was Baltic region, where together with my colleagues, we decided to make a definition because there was still a problem how to define the Baltic Sea region. There are so many concepts, there are ideas. And then in another, it's the Polish version, Professor Tadeusz Stegner precisely described the evolution, the history of all those borders, nations in the Baltic Sea region from the very beginning to the contemporary times. And then when we think about this experimental EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region, we must look at governance structure. So if there are priority areas, I was trying to find if the NTA, minorities, other issues were discussed and were included. And I have to say that I found some information that some of the issues were included in activities of priority area culture. Some were included in the priority indirectly also in priority area tourism and education. And as far as priority area culture is concerned, in archives, I found some meetings and activities of our colleague Tomasz Malo, who participated in some events that were mentioned already in the activities of priority area culture. So what is the division of the Baltic Sea region? Division is, as expressed here, that the challenge is to save the sea, connect the sea, and increase prosperity. So when we think about NTAs, when we think about minorities, we see that mainly it will concentrate in the issue to increase prosperity, to involve all the groups, to include them in all processes and in the decision-making process. Sustainability. Usually when we think about sustainability, we usually concentrate on ecological, environmental aspects. But I want to stress that social aspect and society is also very, very, very important. And very often politicians, theoreticians, don't put enough attention to the social aspect of sustainability. So if we think about regional sustainability, we must have those societal aspects into the consideration. When thinking about sustainability, there are a lot of interpretations. But what is really the most important is we must understand the concept of development, the concept of needs, and what is, I think, in my opinion, the most important one, the concept of future generations. It means redistribution of resources, all resources, to ensure quality of life for all, quality for all. And I think those two words, for all, are the key words. So when we think about minorities, there are so many definitions that you are bigger experts, that I don't feel the expert of minorities. I may just cite one of the definitions that is very, very, very important because it was prepared for UN Economic and Social council, so it's often referred in many documents. But what I want to say, when I made a research about analyzing all those programs, projects, I realized that there are so many different classifications of minorities. So if there are so many different classifications, then I realized that in different countries there are different narrations, different schools. I think, Martin, you will agree that in your country it's very precise. Theoretically, it's very precise. But then when you go to Poland, that's a real challenge, because we have theoretically 3 minorities, practically 4 minorities. So in Poland, according to Polish law, theoretically we have national minority, we have ethnic minority, we have regional language minority, and the fourth is hidden minority, not mentioned in the Polish law, like Silesians. So they make more complicated. Then I decided to make a typology. Okay, when I think about minorities, I see 3 options from my country point of view. Minority is outside my country, so okay, it's not my problem. It's a minority, someone else. Like for example, for Poland, Basque is not a big issue. It's a problem of Spain. So okay, but then number 2, the minority is my country, but only in my country. So we have such a case, like for example, Kashubians are only in Poland. So this is like option A2. There are Kashubians, or they may be distributed in several places, or in whole countries. And then there are another interesting minorities that are option 3, that there are in my country and in other countries. And the special option of the minority is the border minority, which is 3A. So it was very important for the future research that I found out that there are many forms of inclusion of those minorities. So I was thinking, what are the objectives of these projects? How these projects are helping? Then I realized that there are different, in theory, that there are different methods of forcing the development of ethno-national minority groups, like the direct, indirect, and I was trying to figure out in what way this project in the Baltic Sea region, financed by EU money, helped the minorities in that area. So when I refer to Agenda 2030, I realized that 3 words are very important for all members of the society. Disregarding majority, minority, it's equality, prosperity, and vitality. So I think that if we think about minorities, we have always remember about those 3 priorities. Then I created the model. I don't want to talk too much because it's quite theoretical, how external and internal factors may foster to achieve these goals. And it was very important for the next part, which was empirical part. I decided to use the instrument called EU Projects Database, which is not the perfect instrument, because perfect is only in theory. Life is not perfect. But even when I had the clear methodology. It's the biggest database of all the projects in Europe. So I was looking for projects somehow related to minorities, and I combined 3 versions. First, I found all projects with the word minority, but then of course there were some sexual minority, age minority, disability minority. So they say okay. So then I selected another option. Everything with the word ethnic. Okay, so then I found some ethnic, and then I was trying to find literary names of the minorities, like Tatar minority, Kashubian minority, and Sami, and all the minorities. And what was the result? That eventually, from the thousands, hundreds, I found 126 projects that I may say that somehow related to minorities. And what is really interesting is that I made such a method that some minorities were minorities that they don't have their own state. I would say stateless minorities, excluding Jews because it's a special status. So all those minorities don't have their state. But what's really interesting is that if we think about some minorities, some of them are in all countries, like Jews, like Tatars. I found in every country. It was a very long research. I found the information that in every country there are some Tatars, in every country there are some Roma, in every some Jews, but there are some minorities. I mean the Baltic Sea region, that for example Kashubians, Silesians. Why? Because in that part of Silesia, they have the border with Czechs. And I didn't. And Czechs is not the part of the Baltic Sea region. So I found information that in some countries they have their minorities. Of course, it was very difficult to find the information. But what was important for me was that I was very interested. Okay, what's the demographic? What's the structure? And that was very difficult because I have to find statistical data and the different methods, different data, but they gave me an interesting image. It was the interesting image of dominating national groups in the Baltic Sea region. So I realized that in that time of the research, some countries positioned, like Poland, positioned that they are monoliths. That we have like 3% of minorities. Some like Latvia were in a different situation. Then another question was, okay, what are the largest minorities in the Baltic region countries? So we perfectly see that it's very differentiated. If you think about Latvia and Estonia, they are Russians. If you think about Lithuania, they are Poles. Of course, now the situation is changing, but we are not talking the present situation. But what's really interesting, if we take like Scandinavia, if we take German, there are Turks. If we take Sweden, there are Finns. So it was kind of interesting mosaic, an interesting lesson. Then I realized two interesting processes that in some countries, like Belarus, the number of minorities is decreasing, percentage is decreasing, and in some countries like Sweden, just opposite. There are less Swedes and more representatives of other minorities. So I realized that there are different processes in different countries, and then I realized that 45 minorities that I found out are the minorities, I mean ethnic minorities, that was only in one country. Then I realized all 38 Interreg programs with the budget of 83 million, trying to find those projects that precisely concern those minorities. And I decided to prepare the typology. I was observing all those projects. They were very different, but I proposed to give four types of projects. First category I called heritage preservation. The second I called education. The third one I called social support, and the fourth I called political empowerment. It's my subjective way. Other researchers can use different typology. That was the typology I proposed and I used. And what was the result? The result was that when I analyzed those projects, I realized that the majority of projects concerned Sami group. So two projects were about Kashubians, 5 about Silesians, 4 about Roma. But what is really interesting is that it's really interesting that if we think about a project concerning Sami group, I have seen for all four categories, and only in projects concerning Sami group, the issue of political empowerment was concerned. In other cases, it was just those more soft activities like heritage preservation, social support, or education. So we see that it's very differentiated. And I will give you now the examples of four projects. So one of the projects was the project to facilitate cooperation of different Sami organizations. The Sami Council network was created. I am only showing the project. So it was just the project. The idea of the project was that there will be the cooperation of the network of Sweden, Russia, Norway, and Finland. That was the idea of the project. So it was the project concerning Sami Council. Then another project that I would like to show was completely different category. That was the Polish Lithuanian. Yes, okay. That was the Polish Lithuanian project, and this is very important to show this project because it's a perfect example how using the Interreg fund of Lithuania-Poland cross-border cooperation program. It was very interesting to show that first very important conclusion is that in order to support any minority, to promote any minority, to develop any minority within this tool, you must have a partner abroad. This is a perfect example. There are two cities. In Suchowola, it's the Polish-Lithuanian borderland. In Suchowola, there they opened the Centrum Trzech Kultur, which means Center of Three Cultures. And that picture shows three representatives. One man is representing Jewish culture, the second Tatar culture, and the smiling priest is Polish culture. We may also say three religions, yes, because everyone is representing different religion. But the priority in that part of Poland was Tatar, because the Tatar was the main activity, and the Tatars have even the center of culture. But in the same time, in Kalwaria, in Lithuania, the Jewish minority was the most important. Why? Because there was in that area there is a pretty Jewish heritage, but they didn't have money. So that project helped Tatar minority in Poland to promote Tatar minority, and that the same project helped Jewish minority in Lithuania to rebuild their synagogue. So this is the project Centrum Trzech Kultur. This is an interesting project showing cooperation that within the project, shared roots promoting Jewish heritage were prepared. Of course, there are soft projects, so they don't have such a big budget to prepare to this product, but that was just the concept, the idea, and I think that those partners will continue the cooperation. And we will have the result, cross-border cultural tourism routes promoting Jewish heritage, and I always finish with something the most tasty. It's the last project, cross-border brand promoting Livonian culinary heritage. This is really a very good example. Because it shows the minority in a very tasty way, that people have very good association. They will visit Livonia, and at the same time they will have some knowledge of culture, and they will taste the culinary heritage. So when I think about conclusions, I would like to say that EU neighborhoods and also EU EU social EU Interreg policy are a potential instrument to develop minorities. Potential instruments because 120 few projects were found. But the problem is that it's a little bit bureaucratic for a small minority group because it's not so easy to take part, because the most important thing is that you must have a partner abroad because it's the idea. So like Tatar community in Poland had the Jewish community in Lithuania. It's a little bit complicated. They could prepare a project and they received the EU money. Project concerning this Sami minority gave special attention. We may say that they had good practices, but it can be the example for other minorities, because for many reasons the majority of projects concerning minorities refer to Sami minorities, the biggest number, but it is because of several reasons. So minority issues, in my opinion, can be better incorporated to EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region, and I think that in future it's possible to promote the Baltic Sea region as a region that promotes also non-territorial autonomies. And I'm thinking about disseminating the concepts, the philosophy of Entan during the next EU strategy for the Baltic Sea Region Forum, which will be in Lappeenranta this year. And I know that it will be a long-term process of implementing the minority issues to EU strategy for the Baltic Sea region, but it's a dynamic process, and I believe that in this situation, when priority area of culture is coordinated by the Minister of Culture in Poland, so maybe somehow we'll find a way to help the Baltic Sea region to be the region, I would say, minorities friendly. Thank you very much. Uh-huh.
One comment on it. I don't think it's a surprise that it's strong because they have a much stronger institutional background.
Uh-huh.
I would argue to become actively involved in applying for these projects. Would you agree?
Thank you for your question, and I really like your question. Yes. I was even thinking about that. It is a little bit sad. For example, when I was thinking about other minority, which is Roma minority. Actually, in my opinion, in Polish language, we say this word gypsy, Cygan, but I want to be politically correct, so I promote. It's really very sad that the projects concerning Roma were not to promote the heritage. They were how to help Roma. So it was totally different vision. That Roma is a group that requires help. So it's just opposite. So like there was the project that Roma people are unemployed, so we have to all organize education, blah blah blah. So we have to help. And as you say, Sami is just opposite. I think it's the best self-organized group in the Baltic Sea region. It's one of the things. And the second thing is that as far as cross-border cooperation is concerned, we both perfectly know that there is the big influence of national governments, what will be in Interreg program. So it means that simply the Scandinavian governments took care about those minorities, especially some issues, and in countries like Lithuania, Poland, it was not a priority. Simply, the priority would have to use the dominating area in the program. Like, let's say, if it was called culture, they would have to convert the project promoting minority culture. Yes. So it was very tricky, and every country, every program had different priorities. That's why if we compare different groups, it's extremely differentiated. Yes. Yeah.
So you mentioned that I didn't know anything about it, and it was very useful for me. But you mentioned that you only have to have a partner in a different country.
Yes.
And I think you mentioned 2 partners in different communities.
Okay, I will explain it because I will explain. My research concerned a tool which is not literally designed to social and other issues, but I want to show how to be smart, how to be clever and use this. When we think about territorial cooperation, there are three options that can be used. The easiest is to use cross-border cooperation. So there is the border of Poland, there is the border of Denmark, is cross-border cooperation. There is Lithuania, Latvia, or, as I said, those nice old lady preparing cookies was Latvia, Estonia. So it is the easiest, especially when the particular community is in 2 countries. It's like in Spain. Yes, you have a Basque in Spain and Basque in France. So it would be perfect model project to promote Basque heritage if you have one partner from France and one partner from Spain. That's it. So this is cross-border. Another option is transnational. Transnational means for the Baltic from whole the Baltic. So in this case, it's a second tool. It's a very good to help the minority that exists in all countries. Like Tatar, it would be very good for Tatar. It would be very good for Jews and for Roma. Yes, and for Roma. Theoretically, it can be used for a small minority, but transnational cooperation authority, managing authority prefers that by the name it's transnational, so it should have several partners. And the third one, which is really very rare, is interregional. It means that we may have one partner from Vilnius, another from Valencia, from Barcelona, from Flens, Martin, Flens. What? From Schleswig, yeah. And we sit down today, open application, yeah, Interreg Europe, we prepare application, and we have money to promote minorities. Just we represent different regions. So this is very difficult. That in many cases, when we are talking about the minority, very rarely we may find the minority who has money, time, knowledge. So I was really impressed when I was reading the programs supporting Sami. I say that even the program is designed in such a way to help minority to be involved in the project, because I was the coordinator of the EU project 20 few years ago, and that's why the color of my hair changed in that time. And then I lost my hair, so I know what is to coordinate the project. Yeah, by when we are talking the thing was that I spent all the money from the project, bought different things, and I sent invoice to Brussels. And they said, oh, you included VAT, and you are not allowed to include VAT. So in that time, it was 25 years ago, I had to write to every institution that please give me VAT back, all the time back. So it was the idea. So if you have a small minority like Tatars in Sukhovara or in Calabria, how those poor people may have the knowledge how to prepare a project, interim reports, yes, and other things. This is the real problem. But if they start, like in Poland, we have a very good example. We have the minority group called Kashubians. I remember that 20, 30 years ago, people who were Kashubians didn't want to speak their language because they were marginalized. They were marginalized. Yes, it was that if there was the school, if there were children from Kashubian village and they didn't speak good Polish, the teacher was like this. They were punished. You have to speak Polish. So there was the huge pressure to speak Polish, not Kashubian, and it totally changed when Poland changed the system, when we became the democratic, free economy, market-oriented country. Totally. Maybe it's also important that one of the famous Kashubia is Donald Tusk, who was the Prime Minister of Poland and the President of the European Council. So maybe it helped a little. So at the moment, Kashubians have this ability. They have their own television, radio, newspapers. 30 kilometers from my town, there is Kaszubski Uniwersytet Ludowy, Kashubians People University. So it would be very easy for Kashubians to participate in this project. But if we take, for example, Roma minority in Poland, I think it will be really very difficult because this minority is in a completely different determinants. That's why every minority is very different. Okay, thank you.
Hello, and thank you for your presentation, Tomasz. My question, actually, I have two questions and two clarifications again. If I missed something or misunderstood something, please correct me. Two clarifications. The first one is, this Baltic Sea region model is a model based on the projects funded by the cohesion program?
You mean the Baltic Sea?
We're talking about the Baltic Sea region model. And
Yes. Okay. That's a good question. I remember that once yesterday I mentioned that we can show the Baltic Sea region as kind of a polygon, and I remember that they said, "Oh, we can also later compare to the Black Sea region." And I said, "Thank you very much," because it was just the intention. When the process of Baltic integration started in 2007 and the strategy was implemented in 2009. It was completely different epoch. Maybe we were a little bit naive in that time because the Polish Minister of Foreign Affairs established together with Swedish authorities. They said we must change European Union. We must do something that will always have peace. And they introduced something called Eastern Partnership. Have you ever heard about this initiative? Yeah. So that was the Eastern. And what happened? All countries, it collapsed. It collapsed. So in that time, I want to show that people were so enthusiastic. Wow, we are all countries from the EU located on the Baltic coast. Let's prepare our region very successful, very environment oriented, very friendly. So that was this vision, and that was the experiment. And other countries are observing. Then other countries were well. We would like also to have something similar. That's why later there were three other macro regions created, and it was the Alpine macro region, it was Ionian Adriatic macro region, and then there was also the idea to prepare such a strategy for Carpathians, and there was the lobbying prepared by Euro region in the Carpathy, because the Carpathian Metropolitan Cooperation is one of the best. It's really excellent, but of course now the situation totally changed. So the idea was that this instrument was experimentally involved. It was done in the Baltic Sea region, but other transnational regions were observing, and they have similar solutions.
Why projects
No, it's different. There are two things that are parallel. So within cohesion policy, there is the instrument called Interreg. Yeah, this is Interreg, and this is within the vision of Agenda 2030. Those macro regions are more sustainability oriented, but in order to achieve the sustainability, they have to use the EU cohesion instruments. That's why in the Baltic Sea region there is a strict cooperation between the coordinator of the EU strategy and managing authority of Interreg Baltic Sea program. But theoretically, there are two different things.
Actually,
I would like to add something. You are a historian, because of course the concept, the geopolitical concept of the Baltic Sea region is much older. And you can even argue it goes back to the 1000s with the Danes going to Estonia and the Danish-Swedish competition on ruling Baltic area, and then of course Russia coming along with Peter the Great and St. Petersburg. But if you take the post 1990, I think this is where we probably should start. Because you refer to 1994, there was a specifically Soviet concept of the Baltic Sea region as a Soviet Union dominated, and they succeeded with Sweden and Finland neutrality, and all the other countries on the littoral being under Soviet control, except for Denmark and Germany. And then, of course, in the end of the Cold War, there was the concept was redefined as now is our big peace project.
What I'm asking is, actually, you are taking two projects for these graphics. The outputs of the graphics are created by the outputs of the projects, as far as I understand. Because we are doing many graphics, tables, contract analysis in different market groups, and the source has own research or something like that. So it means you create that.
Yes, I created. For example, I was interested in what are the minority groups. So it was in every country I had to find the official statistical data, like from German statistics, Polish statistics, Latvian, Lithuanian, and all the countries.
When you are making your presentation, actually, because you are referring to the projects, and I have thought that there are some projects, and these are the output from the projects, and so you created the graphics for the basis of these outputs of the project. So it's not
Ac-
based on the outputs of the project, but it's based on the research on the statistical data.
Actually, I refer to two issues. The first question was what are the national and ethnic minorities in the Baltic Sea region? So that was part number one of the research, to find out where they are. Then I asked the question, what language they speak, which religion. So it was part one, to make a diagnosis. Then when I realized, let's say, okay, according to literature, according to statistics, I see the certain number of minorities, and I call them very precisely. Then there was the second part. I was interested which minorities were supported by projects. So that was.
Okay, that is clear now.
That's
Next is not a clarification, it's a question. There are some certain minority groups in all graphs, but you are mentioning the Turks in Denmark and Germany as the highest population of minorities, but there are no Turks in the other comparative analysis in the other graphs. What is the
About groups.
Yes.
I will tell you, because
You mentioned sometimes you are treating them as the same.
yes, when I would. Do we have one? Do we have 1 minute? Okay, I will show you later. Yes. Okay.